Duran and Rio, and I think one chap who was listening to that might have been enjoying it, and that's Michael Johnson, who joins me now. Michael, how are you?
Hello, Paula. I'm very well, thank you.
Did you enjoy a bit of Rio?
Oh, I loved it. I always like a bit of Duran Duran.
Now, we were talking all things 80s because you've written a book about it.
I have. I've written a book. It's called A 1980s Childhood, and it's about everything from the 80s. The music, as Duran Duran certainly feature in there, the movies, the TV shows that we used to watch, the clothes we used to wear, even the games we used to play and the things we did at school, all that sort of stuff.
I loved the 80s. I mean, I was born in 67, so I sort of had a smidgen of the 1970s with the space operas and what have you. But the 80s was when I came into my I was 16 in 1983. I left school, so I had a bit of independence, so I could buy my own clothes and, do my own trends, much to my mother's dismay, of course. But it was a great decade.
I bet you had some great outfits then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I like the rah-rah skirts and the tucker boots that we all used to wear to death.
That's right. How about a puffball skirt?
Yeah, I got one of them from Bakewell Market in Derbyshire. It was powder blue. Oh, yeah. I'd love to be able to still wear them today, Michael, because the fashion's come back again. They
have. It's amazing to see so many teenagers wearing clothes from the 80s and not realising that that's what it is. It's the 80s stuff that's come back again.
Yes,
I'm not sure if we want all of them back, though. Some of the fashions are pretty horrible, weren't they?
Well, give us some examples, then.
Well, how about the mullet haircut, for a start?
Yeah.
For some reason, we all thought that was cool at the time, but it certainly isn't cool when you look back at it. And everyone was copying the Green Goddess on the television and wearing sort of aerobics outfits, keep fit outfits, weren't they, as well? I'm not quite sure why we got into all that.
And leg warmers, of course.
Leg warmers, that's right, yeah. And I think that was all inspired by the dance films that were out at the time, like Dirty Dancing and Flashdance, and that got people into the dancing clothing.
Well, and Fame had a lot to answer to as well, because not only was it a film, but of course it was a TV series that had us all dancing around the cafeterias at school.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is not your first book, though. You've done other decades, haven't you?
I haven't, actually. No, the other decades in the series have been written by other authors.
Oh, right,
so there's a book about it's all right, a book about the 50s, a book about the 60s, a book about the 70s. And then they came to me about the 80s, because that's my era. And I run a website all about the 80s as well, which is, I know quite a lot about that sort of stuff. So, yeah, so this is my first book, actually, but the publishers liked it so much, they've already talking to me about another two about the 80s.
Well, last year we celebrated 25 years since the Doomsday Project on the BBC, and I was asked if I would present my show from our major shopping centre here, and if I'd, dress up in 80s garb. And it was so easy to slip back into the fashion, because, like you say, it's come back again. But, I just looked a mess.
Yeah, well, some of the fashions are great, and some of them aren't so good. I mean, we still see people wearing some of the better stuff. Espadrilles, they've come back, haven't they? I see a lot of people wearing espadrilles at the moment. But I don't know about all the power dressing and the big shoulder pads and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure that's going to come back. Or maybe it will, because I hear that Dallas is making a comeback. So maybe the power dressing thing will be back. I don't know. Shoulder
pads. Well, yes, Dallas is back on our screens at the beginning of next month with 3 of the original cast. Because, of course, in the 80s, before Channel 4 started, we only had the 3 channels to watch anyway, didn't we?
We only had 3 channels, but it was amazing what there was on there. We had so many great TV shows. I mean, I'm looking back, I wonder how I've managed to find time to watch all these TV shows in my childhood, when I was also watching the films, listening to the music, going to school. I mean, how did we fit it all in? I don't know.
What was the one programme you used to sit around and watch as a family? Do you remember?
Oh, a family show, yeah. Well, Lovejoy, actually. That came on to the end of the 80s. But Jim Will Fix It, that was a classic, of course. Everyone used to watch Jim Will Fix It. And strangely, I think even families would get together and watch the wrestling. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Everyone watching Big Daddy fighting giant haystacks. Even though little old ladies would be there at the ringside shouting and screaming to pulverise them. And it was a big thing back then, wasn't it?
Well, we used to have a lot of the wrestling at the Old Victoria Hall. That's across the road from me here. It was filmed at the Old Victoria Hall on a Saturday afternoon, yeah. And you're right, if I said to my kids now, come on, let's sit down and watch wrestling, I can just imagine the face they'd pull. We've just had such a nostalgic trip, though, today. I played St Elmo's Fire, a few minutes ago, because of course there was some great films coming across from the Brat Pack and from across the pond in the 80s, like you say, the Breakfast Club and things like that, and Flashdance and that. So much to answer for, but just I could actually be back there, Michael. If in my head I'm still that old.
Yeah, me too. I was just yesterday, I was wearing my A-Team T-shirt and I was listening to 80s music, and in the evening I sit back and watch old vintage programmes, so yeah, I'm stuck in the past, very much so. But yeah, Back to the Future, that's got to be the best film of all time for me. Well, the best 80s film of all time. I mean, I watched that with my kids today and they love it, and yeah, that's one of those films you can just keep watching over and over. But there were a lot of good 80s films, a lot of them.
So the book's a 1980s childhood. Where's it available from, Michael?
Okay, so at the moment it's exclusively available as an ebook. Publishers are doing a special deal, so it's available for £2.56 just for the next couple of weeks. And then on the 7th of September, you can buy it from Amazon or thehistorypress.co.uk, which is the publisher's website, or get it from any of the major bookshops, so Waterstones, W.H. Smith. Most good bookshops you should be able to get it from.
Well, I'm definitely going to put that on my list as a present for the end of the year. I'm not going to mention the word, but you know what time of year I mean. I'm going to ask a certain
I know
fella.
the word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, lovely talking to you, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us. Good luck with that book, my darling.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Michael Johnson, so that's a 1980s childhood.